study guide and to identify the information that was going to be on the exam, because he had just taken the exam. So go sit down, Sam, and you mark off all the stuff that you remember that's on the exam. Right? You're going to be taking the medical exam? Yeah. You want to find somebody who just took the medical exam and have them walk you through what's going to be on the exam. That's how you pass the exam. And ideally, you get in study groups. MAH01379, supposedly this guy is like a superstar entrepreneur, a multi-millionaire who's going to be here. I believe he's going to be here tonight. Did you? Okay. It would be great if you could maybe market this event to your friends and try to get as many people to show up. These speaking engagements, just like the finance board speaking engagements, cost a lot in human capital, reputational capital when we invite these people here, so that when they do come, we want them to come back and to refer other people to come talk here, and also refer us as candidates for jobs and internships. When only 5 people show up, to these events, it makes us look really bad. Okay? Because these are some pretty heavy hitters. So if you can market it, try to get some people to come, we really appreciate it. Okay. All right. I think we only got, Shrikar, you were the only one who got the Wells Fargo position. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what you did and what the position is going to be. Really quickly. And how did you get the interview? How did you get the internship? Because I know we offered it to you.
Sure.
Maybe you can stand up and tell them as I'm doing so.
Okay. The position is Wells Fargo middle market banking, and so middle market means anything from 20 million to 1.2 billion EBITDA or market capitalization, and these companies are like not publicly traded or they're very private, so it would be providing credit underwriting as well as providing investment banking services to those firms. And basically what you do is you take their financials, underwrite how much their capability of loan they can take out and how much they actually want to pay back and can pay back. And then based on that, you get placed on deals and you create pitch decks, and you also create models as to finding out how much they can actually pay back and what a more, I guess, the best rate of return that you can get for the bank. In this case, my offer is from Wells Fargo, and it's in the Oakland office, and so that means a lot of the companies that I would potentially be working on deals with would be like small startups that have like an app or a website, and they're like burning through cash, and they need like debt financing. So that's for this summer.
Thank you very much. Yeah, no kidding. And how long did it take you to prepare for that?
Oh, I spent 72 hours just studying, and then there was a lot of like technical questions on the exam, or not the exam, just the interviews, and I just wanted to see like if you could think on your feet and stuff. Some like throw ball questions, or if oil goes down, how does that affect Disney's demand and supply? And another weird one was, how does, if all things are the same and accounts receivable goes up, like triples, what's happening to the company and stuff like that. And so just like reading up a lot of like Glassdoor and like doing brain teasers, and like, they asked me to do like multiplication on the spot, which was really fun, I think. And so just things like that. Just a lot of practice.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
And I just handed out another opportunity at the FDIC. It's a great institution, great opportunity. They basically regulate, or they're the deposit insurance institution for all individuals who basically put deposits, on, at major commercial banks. It's a great opportunity. It's like going to go with the Fed or the Federal Home Loan Bank, and actively look into it. The other here that I got, which I think is pretty amazing too, is JP Morgan has put together an investment banking series of webinars that I would definitely do. I mean, I hear all the time, I want to do investment banking, I want to be a private equity person, I want to work for Salesforce, I want to work for Google, I want to work for, those are highly competitive positions. You got to be ready mentally, and you got to be trained for this stuff. So this is a great opportunity for investment banking, markets, global treasury management, and risk management. So another boot camp, which I think is great. I think this Friday, Elizabeth sent it out to everybody. All of you should have emails in the Finance Club, because we're really ramping up stuff. The Latinos in Finance is having their 10th anniversary at the Hub, which is where all the startup companies basically hang out and do fintech and all kinds of stuff. I think that's this Friday. I would go over to the city and meet some of these people. They're absolutely incredible. But the Latinos in Finance is a great organization, and it's free. You don't have to be Latino to be part of the organization. So we're going to be bringing you even more and more of this stuff. Well, I thought I had to be. They said, you don't have to be Latino. Okay, cool. All right. So give me an update on where we are on the project. I know that the midterm, like the first deliverable, or the second deliverable, like the first deliverable, is always pretty overwhelming. Most people totally underestimate the amount of work that goes in, so they procrastinate to the very end. And then I get these calls at 3 o'clock in the morning, basically panicking, saying I had no idea how much work that I had to put in to get the thing completed. Can you give me more time? So why don't we go around and you just give me an update on where you are in the process, so I have a clear view of what the deliverable looks like.
We have to, we talked to you on Friday when we were gonna we do the expected returns, but after that, I think it's just pretty much plugging them in, redoing all the calculations, and then finding out.
Yeah, yours was coming along pretty well.
It'll be ready.
I just need to kind of check it, and then you're clear that once you get once you do all the iterations and you find the portfolio with the highest return to risk ratio, that you replicate that one in your passive. Yeah, exactly. Save it down as active, and then now you back test it. You might have to update the third quarter numbers as of September 30th and rerun the 9-month return on the S&P 500 to make sure your alphas are benchmarked correctly on that scenario.
Yeah.
But what do you think? Wednesday, Thursday? Where are you in putting together your deliverable
Like
package?
as far as like a memo and things?
Well, just the package.
Oh, yeah.
Just give me some realistic.
Probably Thursday, Friday, yeah.
Okay, and then we're gonna still do the problems on Wednesday, and who's presenting on Friday? You guys, and who else is presenting?
We didn't present chapter 17.
Okay, so we can do that on Friday. Okay, who else? If you don't know, you gotta go back to the syllabus, look at the syllabus, figure out, when you're gonna present, and then if you haven't presented, if there's a backlog in the chapter presentations that you haven't met, then you gotta bring them forward and do them on Friday. Okay? And then how's everything else going? Memos? Did you update the passive portfolio?
Not yet.
The presentation, the memo, the worksheets?
I had a question.
You need to resubmit that. If there was any comments, if there's any comments on your last deliverable, any comments that I gave you, you need to go back and correct them and represent that information back to me in a final report so that I can sign off on it and say, this thing is really good, it's perfect. Now you can use it as part of your portfolio in your internship and your job application process. Okay, that's why we're doing it. Okay, I don't do exams where I test you and I give you a grade and I give it back to you and just move on. That's great, I think, for some people, but that doesn't get you anything. Actually producing product that you can present to somebody as actual work product that will increase your probability of getting the internship and or the job is my goal, okay? Not to just assess you on what you know, okay? Is there anything else any clarifications or anything?
Yeah, for the PowerPoint, for
Both
this,
the
the
active,
do you want both, or just
you
the
can do,
active?
you have a choice of either doing a single product presentation of the active approach, or you can compare the two.
Okay.
Your final presentation at the end of the semester is going to be all three.
Okay.
And if you want to see an example of the final report, and I think your report's actually going to be better than a lot of these, but if you want to see the three final products, they're here, and then a final presentation with the three products that are shown are in this one right here. So I'll put those out there for you. Okay. So why don't we just continue to go around and just give me an update and an assessment. And if I have any more time, I'll come around and quality control check everything, because I want to make sure that this stuff is produced and looks really, really good.
I talked to you on Friday about our optimization portfolio.
Yeah, how'd that work out?
I said that I had to like rework the optimization.
Yeah, did it work?
Tests and stuff. So we're still working on that, so we haven't done the math, but we haven't plugged it back into the test
Okay.
yet.
Just be careful with, if you're still running the iterations Mason and I figured out last week, that the optimization procedures take a lot of time, particularly the second optimization and even the first and the third. That if you cut and paste too early before it actually processes, the efficient frontier gets all whacked out. So you got to be patient and wait for it to fully process to get the to have them kick out the right weights. Okay, and the reason why some of your efficient frontiers look, you know, look like. The reason why they look like this, or maybe even like that, right? Something like that, as opposed to something like that, is because you're, some of you use negative returns on some of your stocks. Okay, and you used really high returns on some of your stocks. So the spread between the lows and the highs are really, really wide. And if you're using small cap stocks, your return distributions are either skewed or they have, they're liptokurtic, or they have fat tails and maybe skewed distributions. That's why I had you look at the histogram so you can eyeball and see, you know, just do some quick descriptive statistic observations and then look at the histograms to do some data analysis right off the bat to look for normality. Again, I could have done quarterly returns or weekly returns or monthly returns, but I wanted an extremely robust data set of over 1,000 observations to try to get some normality. Okay, thank you. Was there any other things that you were stuck with? It's just a matter of assemblage?
Yeah, and it's also like the take-home term that we're
Okay.
still working on.
Okay, and are you working in a team on that, or are you working by yourself? In a team?
Yeah.
You should be working in teams. Okay, you should work in teams on everything. I have some students in my other classes that try to do everything by themselves, and they just, they crash and burn because they try to do too much. They don't know how to work with people. They can't communicate, they can't coordinate, they can't schedule times to get together, and it just really shows, you know, in their work. You should be working in teams, you know, to move through the material quicker, right? And really focus on the assemblage of the deliverable as the final product, okay? Because you can always go back afterwards. Once the deliverable product is done, then you can go back and review it as a study guide and learn the material. A lot of times it's just putting the production together and then going back and taking the time to do the review of the material afterwards. That's kind of how I've done it. How are you doing?
So we finished all the iterations, and
Great.
we just have to.
And how the efficient frontier look?
I can't remember, because Jeff has that document.
Yeah, he and I worked together at the end of the class, and it was getting a lot better.
Yeah,
So just as long as he didn't, you know, rack too quickly and didn't allow the optimization to actually process before he cut and pasted everything over.
yeah,
It may look a little different, but I'll take a look at it, you know, if and when he shows up.
yeah, he's at golf right now, but I
Yeah.
texted him and haven't sent it to me, so.
Okay, cool.
He'll look at it once he's done it.
And how's everything else going?
Good, I did all the memos and stuff, and
Great.
just like was all in the signature.
Okay, great. And if you give me the memos, I'm more than happy to read through and do some of the editorial process around them. I know for some of you haven't done it before, and for some of you who have done the memos before, I don't know what it is, maybe it's just human nature, that it seems that, you know, the quality of the memo content seems to degrade the longer you've not had me in a class and had the memos. So these memos, the formatting and the writing is something that you want to stay on top of. Don't push it down to the side and don't neglect it. Really focus on your communication skills, because that's one of the first things they're going to ask from you, depending on where you go work, is a writing sample. And if you give them a writing sample that I've totally edited for you, and then they ask you to write something later and they find out that the quality of your writing wasn't as good as you presented it, they're going to be extremely frustrated. So be careful, okay? Anything else, Kimberly?
We're having some, or I'm having some assembly issues getting the stuff from the NASDAQ, like the Instagrams off the Excel spreadsheets.
Oh, so you're still having problems just getting the data in?
Yeah.
Then blow out those stocks and get the ones where you got data and move on.
Alright, that's about it.
Don't try to be-
Everything else is fine.
Don't try to be a hero when it comes to small caps, because there's just not enough data, and you know, NASDAQ is a tough website to work with. But you can get that data from other sources, but I would stick with the NASDAQ.
Okay.
And maybe if you use it early morning or late in the afternoon, there's not as much traffic on the site.
Be easier.
Maybe,
Okay.
okay. And maybe you find a computer, you know, that has high-speed internet. That would probably help too. Instead of using it at home, you know, dial up.
As far as the portfolio goes, you have it finished in the presentation included. We just need to put together the fundamental analysis, valuation, key ratios.
You know, that's really the second step. I wasn't asking for that.
Okay.
So maybe you guys are pushing it a little bit harder than I anticipated. I mean, if you had made a lot of progress, you know, on, you know, doing the active approach and then going on and doing that stuff, I would have said, great, you guys are a power team, you know, keep going. But I didn't want to put that much, you know, pressure on you right now for that. So you really just need to do the active optimization, where you run through the 3 optimization procedures and the 15 iterations. That's what I would really focus on.
We don't even need the technical securities analysis?
Not yet,
Okay.
because that's what we, theoretically, that's what we would that's what we would start working on this week. But it seems as though obviously, the workload associated with deliverable 2 is too high. So I got to give you more time. So I'll give you the week, you know, to finish deliverable 2 unless you've already done it. Because I want the quality to be there. I don't want anything missing from the product. Okay, and I want to see the presentations. All right. So ideally would be Wednesday, Friday. You know, tell me when you can do the active portfolio presentation. Okay. And then I'll work with you on the technical analysis, the fundamental, and the financial ratio analysis. And I do need somebody to step up so that we can program the financial ratio analysis. Not only write out the procedures from Mergent so that everybody can download the key financial ratios into a spreadsheet very quickly, and then run the Z-scores and create a composite index to be able to sort the companies by a weighted average of the Z-scores for the financial ratios. It's really important to be able to do index development and performance benchmarking, and this is a methodology that is standardized, you know, everywhere. Everybody uses this approach. And I'd love to be able to check that one off so we can provide that to our students next semester. So if anybody's interested in working with me on that modeling, I'd love it. Did that answer your question, Tyler?
Yeah.
Okay. So next, give me an update.
Yeah, we're done with the optimization and we're working on.
Did the efficient frontier turn out okay? Yeah. And the capital allocation line looked okay too?
We're all good with that, yeah.
Okay, so you're ready to back test it, put the allocation into the passive file, you know, save it down as active, don't mess that one up because that one's basically turnkey. And then go in, did you use market cap or revenues? For the passive weighting scheme?
We use
Use
market cap.
Market cap?
But we have to alter it.
Yeah, so now you go back and you just play with the market caps to replicate the active portfolio weighting scheme. And then you should have all the back tests done, and then you may need to update the September numbers and recalculate the 9-month S&P 500.
Okay.
So you're getting the 9-month performance of the portfolio against the 9-month performance of the S&P 500 to calculate the alpha. Okay. And then you can decide, do you wanna just present the active portfolio in your memo and your PowerPoint presentation? Or do you wanna, the memo should be the active focus, but the PowerPoint presentation could either be the active presentation or active and passive. Because the last presentation is you're gonna present all three. Okay. Anything else you need help on? Your clarification? Okay. And then what's your expected delivery date?
Next Friday.
No, this
Or
Friday.
this Friday.
Yeah, okay.
Deliverables should be done by Friday.
Okay, cool. And then you clear on the optimization procedures and everything?
We're having difficulty running the iteration.
Okay, I'll have to, yeah, because you weren't here, so I couldn't spend any time with you. That was the problem. Okay, so we're gonna have to remediate that. What about the rest of the deliverable package? Are you on track? Is there any clarifications
We
that
finished
you need?
the midterm take home. We just want to, once we get the optimization, then we'll work on the presentation.
Okay, and then you should hand in the passive approach too,
Okay.
okay? Because a lot of those needed to be corrected.
Okay.
So I'd like to see both products,
Okay.
so that you can use both. When you're in the interview, oh, we ran the quadratic optimization using the Markowitz approach. Here's the example of our portfolio. Oh, we also did a passive approach market cap weighted index too. Portfolio, here's the performance from that. So again, you're building product.
I think we need an audit from you on that.
Yeah, perfect. I love it. And then Mike, give me an update.
Deliverable Wednesday.
Okay, but give me any clarifications, any confusion, any,
The capital allocation, I think, and the Vision Frontier came out fine.
okay,
You
good.
looked at it on Friday.
Okay, and I said, yeah, this looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is
Okay.
it?
Okay, good. And then just make sure I look at your memos, okay? Because you hadn't been, I haven't taken you through the Larry grind on the memo stuff. So we should spend a little time grinding you through the grinder.
Sounds good.
Okay, good. How are you doing, Austin?
Doing well, I think the homework and the midterms are.
Yeah, don't forget to put the spreadsheets, excuse me, don't forget to put the, you guys can whisper, I mean, you guys can talk, but you have to whisper in each other's ears ever so lightly. Don't forget to put the spreadsheets in the homeworks. Make sure that they're printed out correctly, not multiple pages. Make sure that the printouts look nice, and I would go ahead and just review and audit, some of the cells, in the programming, so you're familiar with what that spreadsheet's supposed to do, okay? And then give me those, and then give me the printouts of the websites, okay? All right, anything else?
I'll have you look at my memos.
Okay, good, great, I appreciate that, okay.
So, should we do Friday? That's when we should read it. All the problems with Vision Frontier again.
Okay, so I gotta come over and take another look at it,
Yeah.
make sure that you're copying and pasting everything correctly and making sure you're letting it process. Because depending on the computer that you're on, it takes a while to process the outputs, the allocations. And if you copy and paste it too early, it's gonna muck it all up. That was Jeff's problem.
And also maybe these got negatives too, negative returns.
Yeah, that's gonna be a problem because it's gonna look like this,
Yeah.
right? I don't have a problem with this, just as long as it's traced out and it looks good. If it's got kinks and stuff in it, something like that, then we got a problem, okay? But if it's tracing out, and you got a portfolio that gives you a high return to risk ratio, that you can look at the allocation and say that kind of makes sense, then I'll take it.
The memos are pretty much good.
Okay. And I gotta take another look at them too, because I remember there was some grammar or punctuation issues
Alright,
with
sounds good.
theirs.
I think it's like percentage, I think. I didn't put
Make
it-
sure you have data and analysis in every bullet.
But yeah,
Okay.
should we do Friday then?
Okay, and make sure your graphs, if you use the graphs in the memos, you should have at least 3 years of historical data that corresponds to the asset class, so that you can do technical analysis also. Okay, so the memos are they're cool. I really like them.
I'm done with the take home and plus midterm, I just
Okay.
work on the memos.
Okay, cool. So you feel good about the package and everything. Okay, and make sure that if I correct one person's, memo, the portfolio memo, and, correct the worksheets, and, correct the PowerPoint presentation, make sure that the person that I gave it to is not the person that hands it in perfected, you all should be reprinting that stuff and putting it into your package, because the deliverable package is not a team, you worked on it in a team, but you have to deliver it as an individual, okay? Because those packages get people jobs. They say, show me some, I know you haven't worked, show me some work that you can do. And if the deliverables done correctly and there's no mistakes in it, it's bam, you give them the deliverable. And they go, holy mackerel, you did all this work. And then you say, yeah, and I did it 3 times. Okay, so it'll get you a job. Okay, that's why it all needs to be perfect. Okay, Rob, how you doing? We were talking all weekend.
Yeah, I finished everything besides the not the take home midterm, the in-class midterm.
Okay, and you have the package put together and you're feeling comfortable, the spreadsheets are there with the
I
printouts
just
and,
have to figure out the answers for your in-class ones.
oh yeah, you might have to go back and look at the video. Yeah, or work with somebody to go over it. Okay, and if you have any questions, you can talk to me and I'll tell you, I'll go over it with you. Okay, so there's no confusion.
You talked on Friday, I had to rerun the iterations and fix the capital allocation line.
Did it work?
Yeah.
It did?
So,
Yeah, because at the end there, I was kind of worried. I was getting a little sweaty.
yeah, so the active is all good, we finished the presentation.
Great, great.
I just have to do some numbers and make sure I print out the
Okay.
spreadsheets.
Or would you guys, who do you think would be ready to present on Wednesday to do their active approach? Okay, awesome. Excellent.
If I can come to your office hours tomorrow morning.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll be there from 8 to 9. Okay, and I'll go over it and just double check it. Okay, perfect. Eleanor, how's everything going with you?
Good, I just need to turn on stuff on my, so,
Okay. Now, were you able to resolve the equity sim issue?
yeah.
Oh, perfect. Great, great. And everybody's going to have their equity sim memo with the printout with the rationales behind them? Okay. Is everybody are you using, based on your rationales that you're using for your equity sim trades, are you using press releases? Are you doing fundamental securities analysis, technical analysis? Are you doing research? How are you getting your trades? Or are you just manufacturing trades to get the assignment done? I know how you guys think. I was where you were years ago.
Mainly like press releases and like research on
Okay.
like what analysts on like other websites.
Okay. And how's that working out for you? Have they been correct?
Lost about $7 million, so might be.
Okay. On 100, that's not too bad. That's just noise, right? 7%.
You're good with it, I'm good with it.
Well, 7% is a 10% swing, you know,
Well,
or,
I mean, the market's been kind of, ever since I started doing it,
yeah. Well, have you tested it to see, as you've started to get more comfortable that
like
you're,
back tested.
well, no, well, yeah, a little bit. I mean, seeing what your rationale was, did you win or lose? And then as you start to trade more and get more comfortable with it, were your predictions more accurate?
Yeah.
Or do you need to spend more time, using technical and fundamental analysis to, you guys okay?
Alright, I launched it that way, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah, the problem is like most of my stocks have peaked, like I basically invested too late on them.
You can always short.
Yeah, and that's what I should have done, I should have shorted.
Yeah, so
thought they
think
were
about
gonna keep going up.
that. Going short is just as important as going long. Okay, knowing when to go short, knowing when to go long, and then covering your positions. Now, Eric's not here. He was having problems going short and going long. I don't know if they had ever resolved that back-end issue to be able to switch, before short and long.
Oh, yeah, I had a technical issue with them
Did
over
you?
the week, or on like Thursday or Friday. I tried to short something and it went through as long, but
Okay.
they resolved it.
Okay.
But
They can't go back and correct the position from
they,
earlier, or did they?
let me check. Yeah, they did. They fixed it. But
Okay.
then it was just kind of bad because I shorted, and then like by the time they fixed it, like it wasn't like the right time to sell or to cover.
Okay. Can you just give me a few minutes? I mean, if it's about the class, then let's talk about it. But it's really hard for me to focus on everybody when you guys are talking. Sorry. It's just, I'm so focused, during this time period that it's really distracting. So you guys can whisper in each other's ear you know, if you have a question or a comment to share with everybody, let's talk about it, okay? And I don't want to put you guys on the spot because it puts me on the spot, okay? All right, so why don't you tell us where you are in the process? And Eleanor, are we done with your assessment today? Are we done going over the clarifications of any sorts that needs to be done for your deliverable two? Okay, I just need to double check everything. Go ahead.
So yeah, my only concern was that like, cause I shorted it it was Apple at 206
Okay,
and it went down, but it's
Yeah.
now 201, so like it worked out.
yeah,
But
yeah.
like if they hadn't done it in the right and quick
Yeah.
enough, like they might have just gone back up.
Yeah, Apple's been tough to trade over the last 24
Yeah,
hours,
but
48 hours.
Actually, I lucked out.
Did you?
I'd be up like 3%, which is not.
I'd keep an eye on it. There
Yeah.
might be another leg down on it.
Yeah.
But you know, the market's gonna come in and backfill that because it's institutional and it has to be in everybody's portfolio. And so they're gonna they gotta buy it at some point. So there's gonna be a fairly clear support, you know, identified there, so keep an eye on it, okay? Okay, so, Jason, I still have your deliverable. I didn't get a chance to go over it today because I was doing some other stuff.
You're good. So yeah, I'm pretty much just gotta work through the homework problems. And
Okay.
I finished the in-class midterm is done. I just gotta finish up the take-home one.
Okay,
And then so I just gotta work through it.
okay, no, I understand. And when do you guys think you can do a presentation?
We're gonna do it on Friday.
Okay. Okay, cool.
But that, like you said, there's a chance to do it. We just gotta tweak the presentation and stuff like that. So.
Okay, do I gotta go to the syllabus to find out what chapter presentations are gonna be done this Friday, or do you guys know who's going?
It's teams 1 and 2, 18 and 19.
Okay, thanks, Jacob.
So we're team one,
Yeah. So
Okay.
we'll be doing 18.
18.
Okay,
Where
great,
do you want it, on Friday?
yeah,
Okay.
okay,
I have homework 2 done with the printed,
okay.
so it's done.
Okay, so you got, everything's assembled. Are you working with Jason on your memos and stuff?
Yeah, we're working together.
Okay, good, good. Any other questions or,
Back recently, I've just been continuing training and
okay,
Tesla's back up. So.
okay, yeah, that was a good one. If you shorted, you made it, and if you went long, you probably made, what, 40% on your money on
I
those
went long.
trades?
I went long on Tesla. They're up 190,000.
Yeah, that's good. Again, remember, what I would do too, as, just think about this. Think about what it would look like strategically over the next 4 weeks that you continue to trade. At what point you may just liquidate the portfolio and bank your gains. Right? There might be a point in which you're going to be up significantly within the portfolio, and you say, okay, I'm out. I'm going to liquidate the portfolio. I'm going to bank 10 million bucks or 20 million bucks or something like that. So I would keep an eye on a strategic exit on your portfolio.
How would we, when we're like doing it, like how would we, like our justification or whatever, what would we put for that? If we were just like, all right, we're up X amount. And we're just
Macroeconomic risks, you know, with emerging market geopolitical implosion, with, midterm election outcomes, that will blah, blah, blah. You could come up with some kind of macro factor justification, or you could say, for this experiment, I'll check with them too for this experiment. I'm going to liquidate my position because this is the most opportunity to go into cash, and I'm going to redeploy the capital into a laddered bond portfolio of 2 to 7 year, maturities. Because right now, what's the yield to maturity on the 2 year right now? What's the yield to maturity on the 2 year?
2 years.
It's what, on the 2 year treasury, what's the yield to maturity? I think it's 2.36 or something like that. So almost 2.5%. 2.9, so 3%. Would you take 3% guaranteed for the next 2 years with a potential of a recession within 24 months? Again, as the yields go down, as the Fed tries to bail us out and go to negative interest rates or zero interest rates, your bond portfolio is going to be immunized. Okay, so that might be some of the rationale to think about as an exit. Okay, who else are we missing? Okay, and how's your package and presentation?
It's like, I have like 80% of it done.
Okay, cool. Actually, your memos are really good. So, you know, if you're working with some of these other people, I'd appreciate it, because yours are really good. Yours are some of the best ones. Okay, all right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come around and check. I know, Shrikar, I need to work with you on your optimization.